Hi guys. I wanted to, so I'm posting some information about your senior project today, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit just verbally as well, just in order to back up what I'm writing down, and maybe help flesh it out a little bit. And so I'm going to stick kind of close to the script of what I've written down. And in this video, maybe I'll elaborate a little bit. But your senior project is going to be based on the play A Streetcar Named Desire. Ultimately, you are going to be reading that play in total, and you are going to be taking notes and submitting those notes on that stuff that you read, and then you're going to be creating a presentation on that on a particular question about that play, and that is going to be the product of your senior project here, and that question that you are answering, you're making a case for this kind of argument that you're presenting in your answer. You're going to be answering the question, to what extent are the individuals in this play free to create their own identity? So I just want us to remember that identity is how a person defines themselves. How a person defines themselves, both to themselves as they look at both to themselves as they look in the mirror, and to the world. So if you think of like a public profile that someone might put on, I don't know, any kind of social media that's describing themselves to other people that they might be meeting for the first time anywhere, like a dating app or something like that, your profile there is, it's both what you think of yourself and the way you want the world to see you. Like, that is precisely what identity is. Sometimes what other people think about you, sometimes that, or how they define you, sometimes that matters in your identity, because maybe it changes the way you identify yourself. Sometimes the situations that you're in build up what you think you are, who you think you are. The fact that my father is a butcher means that I grew up being a butcher. So my identity was forged by that image. Or the fact that I grew up in this part of a neighborhood in Detroit, maybe that makes me grow up in its image. Maybe then that created my identity. So again, the question is, to what extent are individuals in this play free to create their own identity? So it's a big question in life, but we're going to try to focus in, so we don't have to answer the big question in life, but we just kind of try to have to answer that question for a few of these main characters in this play. So this is going to be due in 4 weeks. So the first week, this week, we're going to read the first half of the play, and you're going to be taking notes as you read. And I want you to hand in those notes on Friday. The second week, you're basically going to finish out the reading of the play. You're going to turn in the second half of your notes. Again, this part is really important to your presentation, because it's all the building blocks that you're going to need for your presentation. Once you get there, everything you're already thinking is on the page. Maybe it's not completely organized out, but all the building blocks are there. All you got to do is shift them around a little bit in order to build your argument, the case that you want to make in answering that question. So in the senior project overview, in this assignment that I'm posting today, there's the rubric there, the criteria, things that I'm going to be looking for. I don't want to go over that. Okay, I'll go over it real quick. One, I'm looking for a clearly stated thesis, and that's basically the claim you're making, the argument that you're setting forth. We have to come out with a clear statement about what it is you're trying to say. And then number two, and that's going to be worth 10% of your overall grade. Number two is cite evidence to support your claim. So this isn't merely a position, or an opinion. This is a position that you're making that you now have to defend, and that's what we're going to do in the presentation. So in the presentation, I'm going to be looking for 5 pieces of evidence that touch over the whole of the play to support your argument. That's going to be worth 50% of your total grade. So that's the presentation. That's the evidence that you provide in the presentation itself. The third criteria is that visually your presentation should be clean, well-ordered, and visually appealing. It's going to be 10% of the overall grade. You should abide by the rules of grammar, including proper punctuation, spelling, and capitalization. It's going to be 10% of your overall grade. You should have a concluding statement that comes from the argument that you've just presented. It's going to be 10% of your overall grade. And finally, the notes themselves are going to be 10% of the overall project grade. So that took too long. I should have just let you read that. Anyways, just as you're taking these notes, here are some questions to think about. First, just think naturally. You're not going to start getting into the note taking. You're not going to start noticing things till you get a few pages into this play. So work your way into it, and then you're going to be able to start noticing things about identity. You're going to start to be able to make comparisons. So just take notes initially of things that jump out to you as interesting or different. I don't know. Also, define words that you don't know in these notes. You come across a word you don't know, throw it down there. Write down the definition. Write down whether you notice anything that, like, what shapes the identity of these characters. What is their identity? You can kind of make an identity chart, kind of describing them. What's different between what these characters, who these characters think they are versus who they really are. Sometimes that can be different. You know, those profiles that people make for the world on social media, they're the way they want the world to see them, right? But is that who they truly are? That's one thing. Identity, people can be confused about their identity. Identity can involve confusions, or it can involve people lying to themselves. That's the source of the confusion. So yeah, again, when we get to the presentation itself, you guys, I encourage you to use Prezi.com, which is an online presentation platform. I will be giving you an example of the kind of thing I'd like to see, but not for that. We won't start that in 2 weeks. So at that time, I'll give you an example of how to pose an argument in a presentation form. You might be asking yourself, how do I do that? How the heck would that look? So I'll give you an example, and you'll say, We'll talk more about that then. I think that's all I wanted to say. I hope you guys are taking care of yourself.